Hello friends, hope you've all started a fantastic day. I am so excited today. I have someone very special here that I want to introduce to you guys. If you'll remember, some days back I posted a book review that my kids went to, and the author of that book, Fiona, is here with me today. And I want to introduce her to you guys, and we're going to have a bit of a chat about her book and her mission. And I find her so inspiring because I always talk about, you got to know what your calling is, what you're trying to achieve in the world. And she is a classic example of someone who not only knows what her calling is, but she is going around as fast as she can, changing the world and living up to her calling and making the world a better place. Meet Fiona. Hello.
Hi everyone.
Yes. How are you today?
I am very well, and all the better for meeting you today.
Oh, likewise. We've been having fantastic conversation over coffee, and we could talk for hours, but we thought we should probably start doing, sharing this with you all.
Yes.
So Fiona's book, you guys all probably saw in the book review, the book launch. This gorgeous book, which I've been reading to the kids for the second time. We're halfway through it for the second time. We're going to talk about this, but what I wanted you to tell us first, Fiona, is what got you into writing? How did you become an author?
Well, it was really interesting actually. I'm an art therapist by trade, and I work with children in the community for the past 30 plus years, and I often journal. I used to journal a lot, and I just write little bits and bobs about the kids, and without their names of course, but I thought maybe I can put those bits and bobs together and write a story. And I worked with teens in a program that was called a Flexi School. And in that program, they were so inspiring. Those young people lived with trauma, and they were brave and resilient. And I wanted to write about that story in a book with characters. So that's how I started.
That's how you got. Wow. And so, working with children that have had a difficult life takes someone very special, because you've got to have a certain level of compassion and patience, and you've got to be such a kind soul to be able to do that. And you connected with these children,
I did,
on a whole other level. Can you tell, because we've just talked about this and I was just so touched by it, so what was that big special thing you guys all did together that touched so many people's lives?
Well, these children came from places that weren't safe. So what I tried to create was a safe environment where they were heard and valued. And the way to do that was to give them a voice. So we decided together to make a documentary called Walk in My Shoes. And Walk in My Shoes was their experience of being bullied at home and at school. And it just exploded.
And what a good name, Walk in My Shoes. Like, it says it all there, doesn't it?
Yeah, and Walk in My Shoes was a name picked by one of the young men in the program, and he's one of the key young people, and I still talk to him. He's now like 35.
Wow.
And he was only 13 when I met him, but it was a life-changing experience for me and for them. Yeah.
And you took, and so you guys made a documentary.
Yeah.
And you took that on the road, and you spent how long doing that?
3 years. Travelled Australia for 3 years, and I made, because I'm an art therapist, I know how important art therapy is for holding space safely. So I made a workshop to go with the film, and I shared it and travelled around Australia, went out back, went to the main towns, and nearly 3,000 people workshopped that with me, and I can't believe how brave I was. Really.
That's incredible.
I can't believe.
Incredible.
Yeah, because my mission was to showcase their courage and bravery, my fear of feeling and looking like a fool, if you like, was on the back burner because I was talking about them.
So this is a classic case of, you know, when they say you got to do something that's way bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you did. You know, you put all your own sort of fears and everything aside because you knew you're doing something that's far beyond all that, that's helping and touching so many lives.
Yes, and I wanted to honour those young people for the courage they had of putting themselves in the documentary, and neither them nor I knew the journey it would, you know, unfold.
Yeah.
Really, but I'm so proud of that work, and that work is the foundation of my books. Yeah.
So can we find that anywhere to watch now?
No, not really. Because it's such a long time ago and it wasn't in mainstream media.
Yeah.
And I never sold it on its own because because children, young people, they're children to me, but they were teens. Talked about suicidal ideation. I didn't want other young people to be at risk. So we could have made a whole lot more money selling it, but I just didn't want to risk it.
Yeah, it wasn't the main purpose of why you were doing. It wasn't the purpose of why you were doing.
No,
it was just
no.
sort of yeah.
And I did that through, and I have to give credit to Wesley Mission because Wesley Mission believed in what I was doing and allowed me to do that as part of my job, which was outside my scope really, but yeah, it was good.
So, you know how they always say everything happens for a reason. So obviously that happened, which sort of made you find your way into writing children's books.
Yes.
So tell us about that. When was your first book?
Well, my first book is called Charming Charlie.
Charlie.
And the Spectacular Sophia.
Oh.
Because Charlie is charming and Sophia is spectacular. And I launched that in 2017. I was just beside myself with joy by actually getting that done, because writing a book is a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
And especially a chapter book. You know, there's a lot of work. I have a fantastic editor, publisher, because I self-publish all my books, because you're in charge and you're in control before it comes out. And she's been with me for 10 years now. And that first book was about the young people who I use characters, but they really figure heavily, the real children. And the strategies I used to help them feel safe, I've got in the book. So there's many helpful strategies in that book, as well as a really sweet little story about two little people who become the best of friends.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really lovely.
Even like in this book, I was reading, and at that point where they're sitting there holding hands, and it's just so sweet.
Yeah, I think it's really important to remember the simple things with children. And I want, when children read this latest book, I want them to know that friends are so important.
They're so important. Yeah. It's important to have friends. It's important to talk to friends and confide in friends. You all know I've got such a passion for children's books and anything to do with kids. Being a mother, like it's all for me. It's very up close and personal. And I had talked to you guys about another book before, which I thought, books that really stand out to me. You know, there was this other book about positive and spreading positive and negative, and that this book really sort of stood out for me. And also, I mean, really, like, first of all, this beautiful message to my kids here. Thank you for that. Love it. But look at the illustration in this book, guys. Like, my kids have many books. Many books. Like, they love reading. I love reading to them. Like, we're really big on that. But this book I thought was just so beautiful. Like, when I opened it and I saw all the colorful illustration, I was just mesmerized. I mean, look at this. When they find the garden, like, it's just so nice. So I love it. So can you tell us sort of what is the essence of the book, basically, and where can people source this for their children?
Yeah. Well, this was the third in the series, and I... Thank you, Sunay. You're such a darling, really. I wanted to write a little book for little people because I'd written chapter books. My other books are chapter books, and I wanted a book that little people could read and look at the drawings. And so this book, my main characters, Charlie and Sophia, decide to take the children on a journey through the sacred forest. And this book is designed to help with anxiety and stress in little people, and to remind them to breathe, be outdoors, see nature, learn how to be present to what's around you so you don't get caught up in that anxiety. It's to help mamas and papas too.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's so much to learn from
so
this
many
book as a
layers
parent.
in this.
Yeah, like so many little nuggets you can like pick out of this and actually implement it into how you talk to them and what you do. And the other thing, this book sort of reminded me, if anyone's read the book Magic by Rhonda Byrne, it kind of like everything in this was just so magical, and it reminds us that as we grow up we forget how magical the world really is, and we stop believing in so many things, and this just kind of makes everything beautiful and magical for us again, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a book about hope, because right now the world is, parts of the world, it's all so difficult. And unlike myself when I was a little person, the little people of today, they hear the news. They hear you talking about the news, and we had COVID, and they're worried. So I wanted to write something to help them, remind them that there's beauty in the world. And in the back of the book, there's a meditation you can download on a QR code to your phone. And that meditation is spoken by myself, and the music's made by my lovely youngest son, who when he was a little boy, he used to suffer with migraines. And so I used to take him on a journey to the beach or the forest. And this book reminded me of that, so I thought I'll give them an extra tool in the back. And the funny thing is that the mums and the carers and the aunties are all using the app to go to sleep. And the kids are still sitting there, but everyone else is asleep. It's really quite funny. But
there's something for everyone in this book. Right?
There is. And there's magic in the world, and I believe in magic. I always have, and I always will, and I think that's the part of me, my little girl inside of me connects with children, and I love that, because then, you can just celebrate life, really.
Oh yeah. And children make everything so much happier, right? Like, you have the worst day and you talk to children and you forget everything.
Yeah, and they ask such interesting questions when I'm reading the book. And I've been to schools, and I've been places to read the story already, and they just stop me and say, so what about? And I love that. That's so important to me.
Yeah. So actually, good thing you reminded me. So if people, because I'm sort of in line for that, I want you to go to my kids' school. But what's the procedure around it? Do the parents need to talk to the school to have you organised to come in there and get a reading done?
I think if you're interested, I'm happy to go to your children's school and read parts of the story. I've got a really wonderful PowerPoint of all the illustrations, and the children just love it. And it's, it can be prep, year 1, year 2, year 3, and I'm happy to go to the school. And I think you probably, if you're interested, you ask the school if they would be in agreement to that.
Yes.
And then I have a website.
Oh yes, tell us your website.
It's www.fionaware.com.au, and my email as well. I'll get Sinead to put that up.
Yep.
And